So in praying to God then and listening for God's voice, how do you handle or how do you deal with what can feel like unanswered prayers in the moment?
When I have over my lifetime tried to assist people who are wondering why isn't God responding to my request, there's this whole understanding that silence is a part of the response. We just reflected on a scripture passage from the Gospel of Matthew where Jesus visited the area of Tyre and Sidon, and a Canaanite woman asked that Jesus heal her daughter possessed by a demon. And Matthew tells us that Jesus didn't answer her, that he remained silent. And so the disciples then say to Jesus, "Aren't you going to do anything?" And Jesus, again, continues to be quiet. And then he answers, "But you know that I've been sent to the house of Israel. I haven't been sent to these people." Now, this is where Jesus is expanding through Matthew's gospel our understanding of God's generosity, because the woman persists. And even though the Jews and the Canaanites didn't get along, they hated each other, Jesus responds to the faith of the woman and the love of the woman by granting her request. But it doesn't all happen instantly. There's a period of silence, there's a period of quiet. And for us, sometimes we want to say, "Hurry up, God." And what we have to pray for is to be as patient with God as God is patient with us. And sometimes God waits a long time for us to turn to God, to turn our minds and our hearts to God. There's a mutual patience, and there's a mutual, God is always inviting us to come, but we wait until it's the right time for us to do it, and God respects that freedom. Sometimes we have to wait for God and respect that God will know when it's the right time to respond to us.
So to kind of follow up on that, God waits for us to respond to him. Is that to suggest that what feels like unanswered prayers or silence from God may come as a result of us approaching God with the wrong mindset or the wrong kind of approach to the question at hand, the issue at hand in our prayer? Is it a matter of God waiting for us to be in the right space in order to respond?
Well, I think rather than move into the language of right and wrong, because I think God's way with us is the way of love and encouragement and affirmation. I think often in Scripture, the occasions where Jesus becomes rather abrupt more have to do with religious leaders who are trying to manipulate God. Jesus with the poor folks is usually pretty calm and gentle, but there's that wonderful passage where Jesus entered the village and they brought him the sick, and as they learned Jesus was there, the line just got longer and longer and longer. And the author of that gospel tells us, and Jesus slipped out the side door and went across the river to be alone with the Father in prayer. Was he neglecting those people? No. This whole question of time, when is the right time for the granting of the request? When is the right time to come to God with the request? I mean, slowly as we develop spiritually, we begin to surrender our time to God's time. And in God's time, that's all of eternity. It doesn't necessarily have to hurry on the clock the way that we're so used to in our contemporary culture, being very hurried into the next thing, hurry up, the next thing.